I wasn't planning to film this kind of video, like I had no plans for it, but then I saw some YouTube friends who did it and I super enjoyed watching their videos. So today for this Friday, I'm also gonna film this kind of video. Hello friends, happy Friday. So very excited that you're here. I am doing like a 2024 reading channel goals, including stats from 2023. I actually did have plans to do like a more elaborate, in-depth kind of stats review from 2023 of my reading, but I just could not get motivated to do it. Once I like went on break, hiatus, well, more like break vacation, I really just didn't do anything but read a whole entire bunch. And it was really, really nice. I really enjoyed that. Granted, that was quite a few weeks ago, but I'm filming this video pretty early because I made a list of my stats according to Goodreads, my own stats that I recorded in my reading journal, and then my channel goals. I did originally share those channel goals and reading goals with my Patreon and channel members, and I would love to do a huge shout out to them. Thank you everyone who has like become a channel member or a Patreon member for your support. It is so deeply appreciated, and I truly hope that going into 2024, or for the year of 2024, I mean, that I can share plenty of manga recommendations that interest you, that excite you, that get you like on the hype train for that series that I'm talking about. I'm really, really excited for many of the reviews and just recommendations that are to come. Not that I know all of them, but I know that I'm going to be really, really excited for them. So let's go ahead and jump into this video. I'm going to start with what Goodreads said were my like reading stats from 2023, and I'll also leave a link down below if you want to check out my full year in, I guess, was it a full year in Goodreads or something like that? What do they call that? My year in books, my bad, my year in books. So if you want to check that out and see more exactly of everything that I read, because according to Goodreads, I read 365 books last year. That does not include manhwa or anything that are like that if I read it digitally on say like Tappy Tunes or Tapas. That doesn't include anything that I read on Webtoons, and that also doesn't include anything that I read on Shonen Jump or Jump Plus. So if I include those numbers, based off of what I wrote in my reading journal, I read 416 volumes of manhwa, manga, all of the things. That includes Webtoons as well. Now, I only marked it as a volume though if I read, I think it was like more than like 7 to 8 chapters, because I feel that's typically about how many chapters you'll find in a manga, usually, unless it's like slice of life and you have like 12 or 15, because the chapters are usually much shorter. But backing up, I wasn't planning to do that for my first stat, but according to Goodreads, I read 68,522 pages last year, which seems like a lot, and all of that was manga. I did not review or read any novels last year, which was really bizarre, to be honest, because I think the year before that, in 2022, I at least read 3 novels. But I didn't put any novels on my list of things to read last year because I don't know. I mean, unless it really captivated me and hooked me, I couldn't seem to stick with anything unless, I'll be honest, unless it was fan fiction. I did read a little bit of fan fiction last year, but not, I feel like I read a lot of fan fiction the first half of the year, but I didn't really read any the later half of the year. And mainly because if people are gonna write what is the tag that I use? There's a certain tag that I would look up for haiku. I forget what word it is. But it's not cozy, it's not clean. I don't know, but there's a certain tag that I use, and it would not give any NSFW. It wouldn't give any of that kind of fan fiction because I don't enjoy reading that personally. And so I really love that tag, but there's people who are writing that, and I'm like, please don't be writing adult fan fiction and putting it under this tag. I don't appreciate it. So I have not read as much fan fiction because I get really frustrated and it takes me out the mood of when I find some really sweet and really beautiful pieces on haiku. But moving on though, Goodreads said I read 370 books last year, according that I actually marked on there. I do feel like that number's probably not fully accurate because sometimes if I know like when I read, was it last year? I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but like, for example, when I read Magic Knight Rayearth, I will sometimes leave a review on one edition, and then if I see like another edition has more reviews on that, I'll also leave it on there because got to spread the manga love for different things. The shortest book that I read, according to Goodreads, was No Longer Heroine Volume 2 with 125 pages. I don't feel like this is really short. I'm like, there have been other manga that I've read that are much shorter. In fact, I'm going to feature one that is like significantly smaller. So I'm like, I'm not seeing how this is the smallest manga or shortest book that I read in 2023, but whatever, that's what it says. For longest book though, I feel like this is cheating because it's not technically a manga, and that is The Art of Haikyuu, Endings and Beginnings. It was 400 pages. 400 pages packed. I can't even open it with one hand without dropping it. 400 pages of haiku awesomeness. I love this art book. I actually have it on my dresser so that I see it every single day because that is just how much I really love it. When it comes to the average book length that I read in 2023, it is 185 pages. I feel like that's pretty on par for most of shoujo manga that I read, so thought that was sort of interesting. For the most shelved manga, it was Maid Sama Volume 1, had over 114,000 shelved volumes. When it comes to the least shelved, there was only 4 people that shelved It Takes Two Tomorrow 2 for Volume 2. Now look at this. Look how short this volume is compared to No Longer Heroine. It's shorter. I don't know how many pages this one has though. Let's see. The other one said 125. I don't even know if this one has page numbers. Oh, just kidding. This one had 140. But it just seems, I don't know, maybe because it's smaller. Maybe. That is a small difference, but I don't know. I just was so shocked that No Longer Heroine was the shortest book that I read in 2023. My average rating was 4.5 stars. I do feel that is pretty on point. I know some people say like, well, if you're not giving low stars, then I'm not going to trust you as a reviewer. And I've never personally had that problem. I mean, unless you're giving like overwhelming 5 stars where you never ever have anything that's lower than say 3 or like 3 and lower, then maybe yeah. But I'm like, I tried really hard to do a lot of research before I actually pick up manga. So I'm not surprised that that number is so high. And you'll definitely see if you watch my December reading wrap up, then you know that I do and have dropped series, and I have given volumes 1 star. So it's not like I'm just reading things I super enjoy. Though granted, when I'm picking up stuff, I am assuming that I am going to really like that. When it comes to the highest rated manga or highest rated book on Goodreads, The Art of Demon Slayer, which was the Demon Slayer art book, it was at 4.82 stars. Rightfully deserved in my opinion. I love my haiku art book, but I will say that The Art of Demon Slayer, that art book is one of the best art books I've ever read. And the reason being is because I feel like it totally spoiled me for any other art book I've ever picked up, because the creator actually gave, for every art piece that was in that art book, he actually gave feedback or like thoughts on those individual pages. And it was the most immersive experience that I've ever felt, where I really felt like I was connecting with the manga creator. I mean, the art was really great as well, but I just felt like that was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had with an art book. And when I got the haiku one, the haiku art book, I was really bummed that we did not have the same kind of notes. Yes, like the creator does leave some notes on some pages, but it was very immersive for The Art of Demon Slayer, and I would highly recommend it, like regardless if you're like a huge fan of the series or like you're just a fan of the anime. Again, I felt really connected with the creator and was very happy that this had the most or the highest rating of stars of books that I had read last year. I definitely feel it was very rightfully deserved. For the first review of the year, I reviewed Doomsday with My Dog Volume 1. I gave it 2 stars, which was really hard because that's like the first book that I read that year, beginning of last year, and I just could not get into it. I don't even fully remember why I didn't get into it. I don't know. I didn't read my review to see, but I did kindly hand that off to a friend because I just knew I was never going to come back with it. But the next book that I read was Honey Lemon Soda Volume 1, and that was a 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. Honey Lemon Soda was definitely one of my favorite reads from 2023. I was about to say 2024, but it was definitely one of my favorite reads from last year. And then after Honey Lemon Soda was Alice in the Country of Hearts. I read the omnibuses of volumes 1 through 3. I didn't realize that I read that series so early in the year, and it was really exciting because I didn't even know that I read that so early in the year. And then the last week of December, I actually bought some Alice in the Country of Hearts merch. So that was really, really cool and really, really enjoyed that. For my last review of the year, this was the perfect way to wrap up 2023, and that was Tear Moon Empire Volume 3 of the manga. I originally was going to read The Star Seekers. It's a manhwa that recently came out. I could not get super into that. I did talk more about that in my reading wrap-up video. So I decided to give this series or this volume a go, even though it was like 10 o'clock. I was super tired, but it was perfect. I laughed so much, and it was just a really great way to wrap up my reading for 2023, as well as writing a review, because I think I finished reviewing it, like editing it and everything at like 11:30. It was really, really cool. I really enjoyed that. So that was my year in books according to Goodreads. Again, I'll leave a link down below if you want to see all the books that I read according to Goodreads, because I try and leave a review for every single book that I read. And if I didn't leave a review, then you can know that I didn't super enjoy it. That is my thing, because even if, like, for example, I Want to Escape Princess Lessons, I did leave a review on that. I gave it 1 star, but for, I don't want to say any series, but well, I guess Sakura Hime, I did mention I did not super enjoy that. I marked it as rad, but I didn't leave a review, which means I was really struggling. I was forcing myself to get through those volumes. So I guess that's a fun little thing about me, I guess. Now I'm going to go into the stats that I recorded according to my reading journal. I thought about sharing my reading journal pages. If you're interested in those, let me know. I share them on Instagram every single month. They're in my story highlights. I just haven't really shared them here because I don't know, I just haven't. So if you're interested in seeing that, I can always share them here as well. I filmed a video at the beginning of last year of series that I wanted to read, and I thought I would share all of the series I put on that list. I believe there were like 11, I think, or 10 they were on there, and I was actually really surprised because I read 1, 2, 3, 4. I read 4 series on that list, and I was really, really excited. So going through the list, Otomen was the first one. I did start that last year. I didn't finish it. Don't ask me why. I think it was last year. Was it 2022? But I know Otomen was on there and I did start it, but I didn't finish it. The Girl with the Sanpaku Eyes, I still have not finished the series because I refuse to start it until I get the final volume. The final volume got pushed back. I don't even know what the new release date is, to be honest, but I'm not starting that until I know it's in my hands. Those Not So Sweet Boys, I did read that last year. I did a review, really, really enjoyed it. I recently just discovered a series that somebody compared to that, and that is Anyway, I'm Falling in Love with You. I started on K-manga, even though the guy kisses the girl really early, and it wasn't like she was looking forward to it because it was very surprise kind of kiss thing. I really, really enjoyed it. It has very similar vibes, but it is different. I wouldn't say it's quite as sweet as Those Not So Sweet Boys, but I still really enjoyed it. And I'm hoping to pick up Anyway, I'm Falling in Love with You because it reminded me of this series and I really enjoyed this one. I still have Lovely Complex on my list. I still haven't read it and I really need to get on it. I did have Maid Sama, and as you guys know or may not know, I did unfortunately drop Maid Sama. I have bought the entire series because I thought I would super love it, and I tried volume 1 and I could not get into it. Now I will say, I don't know why so many people say that the guy is a red flag character. I did not think he was. My actual issue came with I did not like the girl. I thought she was just way too mean and I didn't like how she treated the guy. So I had no issues with the guy. I thought he was amazing. Maybe that changes later on in the series, but I really just didn't love the girl. And so I feel like that's a really rare opinion when it comes to that series. I don't know why it's considered such a like toxic series. I did not feel it was toxic. I just didn't like the girl and how she acted. So I kindly handed that off to Prof, which he enjoyed it significantly more than I did. So I was really happy that those volumes had a new home. I also unfortunately bought all of Night of the Ice and then I dropped it because there was another female character who I really disliked. I think she is the manager for the main guy and I hated her actions. I hated the way that she treated him and the way that she acted. I couldn't do it. I tried to go like skip ahead a little bit, and anytime she showed up, it just ruined my enjoyment. So I also kindly handed that series off to a friend. But don't worry, the next one was Queen's Quality, which I read, super loved. I know it was not listed in like my 2023 favorites, but I deeply love this series. It definitely made me cry when I filmed that review, but it was just so good. It's so good. I'm looking forward to more volumes releasing, even though we're like in our final arc, but that was very, very good. So glad. Hosted the Lara's Read and Review reading spree. I think I like butchered my own title, but I'm glad that I hosted that event because Queen's Quality won, and if it hadn't been for that event, I would have never discovered how much of a gem that series is. The next one that I have on my list is Library Wars. I keep meaning to reread it. It's on my list again this year, actually. That's a minor spoiler for what's to come, but I have it back on my list because I'm determined to reread it. I've read this series once before. I've gushed about how it's impacted me, one of the first first shoujo manga that I ever read, and I'm like, it's time for me to reread this manga. I also had My Love Story on my list, which I did read. I buddy read with Prof and Marg reads manga. That was so wonderful. And then the last one that I read was Perfect World. I read all of the series. That was one of the most dramatic series I've ever read, and I knew that was one that I probably would never reread again, so I handed it off to a friend who was very, very excited. Probably has reread that series like more than I ever thought that I personally would, even though it had a wonderful ending and all the drama was very much worth it by the end. When it comes to digital manga I read, not any digital manhwa, I did not include that because when I was looking at my reading journal pages, it's hard to say how much manhwa I read, like when it comes to reading on apps like Webtoons, Tappytoons, Tapas, and all of them. And I feel like there's another website that I'm missing, but it was really hard to keep track because sometimes, like one series I started on Komaki, however you say that, but one series that I started on there, I only read like 2 to 3 chapters on there, and I felt like that wasn't a full volume, so I didn't count it in my list, and that tended to happen quite a bit because I was reading, or I have been reading The Remarried Empress as the chapters are coming out, and I don't really know how to like count that all as one volume, so I just said no, we're not going to mark that. But my manhwa reading, digital manhwa reading, definitely has gone up since previous years, which was really, really exciting to me. But digital manga, I read 50 volumes across a variety of apps, and I thought that was actually really good because I felt like I didn't really read much digital manga last year. But yeah, I actually read much more than I anticipated. I know from like January to March, when my family had COVID and we just had like continued sickness, I read a bunch of digital manga within that time frame. I think like February was just, I read more digital manga than I read of physical manga, which was really interesting. And I've already mentioned how between all the manga and manhwa that I read was 415 volumes. So it was a really great year of reading. I was really happy, and I'm really shocked that I've read over 400 volumes of like series and manga and all of that. Like that was very mind-blowing to me. I don't know how much I read the year before, but while we're here, let me pause and let me go see. Okay, so I found my year in books for 2022, and I read 359 books according to Goodreads. And I actually had more pages read because I read more novels in the year of 2022. I also read a lot of omnibus, glancing through what I read that year. Like for example, I read Fruits Basket that year, I read Orange, and that's all I'm seeing at a quick glance. So I feel like that's about on par for my reading. And I will say I don't set like a Goodreads challenge reading goal. I do not like setting that for myself. I feel like it makes my reading very stressful. So I do not set reading challenges. I don't set reading goals because I really just don't like how it makes me feel. And even through the year, I will like participate like Shay at Shay Geeks Out. She'll do like the 30 and 30 challenge, I think is what it's called, where you read 30 manga in 30 days. I was doing that during the month of December because a few people on her Discord were sort of doing like a low-key version of that, and I was really excited that I met that goal. That's about as far as I will go. I don't like doing where you have to do specific challenges where you have to read specific things. And the 30 and 30 is sort of like randomly throughout the year. It's not every single month. So I will just say, as something that's not exciting, I do not set those reading goals, and I only have one. I mean, I guess I have some reading goals, but it's not like I want to read 400 books in a year. Like, nope, I don't do that. Hey friends, this is going to be a voiceover for this part because I didn't have it ready when I originally filmed this video, and I finally went through my reading journal and I did a breakdown of all the demographics that I read in 2023. I have really loved seeing this in other manga tubers video, and I was like, Laura, we're just going to do it even though it's late, so please enjoy this voiceover and I hope it goes well. So as I said, I went through my entire reading journal and I use manga, is it Baka Updates is the name of it, or not manga, just Baka Updates, to help make sure that I had the right demographic to the best of my ability. So if any of the demographics, you won't see which books go where, but hopefully everything is fully accurate. So let's go ahead and start off with, I guess, just looking at the chart. As you can see, there is one that is humongous, and probably no surprise to anybody, that was shoujo. Shoujo took up 59.3% of my reading last year, with me reading 240 volumes of shoujo manga. I am not surprised by this number at all because I think I've said maybe last year or in my reading collection video that I already knew, not my reading collection, my manga collection video, that I already knew that shoujo was going to be a larger and larger part of my reading, and I've been very, very happy with that. So I think that's really exciting. Over 50% of my manga reading was shoujo. Now going on to the next biggest one, which really shocked me, and that is josei manga. I read 51 josei manga titles last year, and I am shocked because going back to that manga collection video that I filmed, I mentioned or I shared that josei manga, like physically in my collection, is the least amount owned. And so I was thinking that I probably didn't read that much josei manga, but obviously this statistic says something differently. And I was, just like I said, very, very surprised by that because I was not expecting that to be the statistic that I have. But I'm really excited. I feel like that number is going to go up again this year because there's a lot of josei manga that are on my radar. I talked about in Is Josei Manga on the Rise video when I filmed that in the 25 days of shoujo manga, that I feel personally that josei manga is on the rise, and that, again, that number is just going to go up in this upcoming year. Now, the next statistic also surprised me, and that is for shonen with 6.4% of my reading from last year. I only read 26 volumes of shonen manga. I am very shocked by that. I know that my shonen manga reading, my shonen manga collecting has taken a hit in this past year, and I guess I didn't realize that I read that low amount of shonen manga. I honestly thought that number would be a lot bigger, but it's not. So I was just really surprised by that, and I don't feel that number is probably going to go up this year. There's maybe 2 or 3 shonen manga that are on my radar that I plan to pick up. One of those being You and I Are Polar Opposites. I'm very, very excited for that one. It's probably my most anticipated shonen manga of this year. So outside of that, I don't really have anything else coming to mind that's like, yes, I'm going to be picking this up. So I was just really surprised by that. For the next 2 percentages, you can see that they're the same, and I was super surprised. The first one is seinen manga, and I read 39 volumes last year. I thought this number would be a little bit higher. I especially thought it'd be higher than josei manga because I do have more seinen manga represent in my collection. But again, that number is showing something different, and it actually tied with manhwa, with me also reading 39 volumes of manhwa. I am not surprised by the manhwa. In fact, if you saw last week's video, you know that my favorite book of the year was a manhwa title, and I feel like manhwa is really just going to keep growing in my collection. I am hardcore on that manhwa hype train. Eyes Press had, I think, 6 new digital or 6 new license announcements that are coming out this year, and I think I wanted all of them, but like 2, or one of them. I plan to just continue to grow in my manhwa collection that I have, as well as reading more manhwa. But I never expected that I was going to have like the same amount read with the manhwa and seinen, though I know the manhwa number's probably not fully accurate because I did not include any chapters that I was just reading individually, like The Remarried Empress, for example. I read like 3 chapters a month of that on Webtoons, so I did not include those. So maybe I've read a little bit more manhwa, but I didn't add those to this number. And for the last one, 2.5%, I marked as other. I read 10 volumes. Most of these were like if they were a random webcomic or they were like some random one-shot that I had no idea like how you would put that in a demographic, or if, say, like, for example, Wonder Cat Q-chan didn't even have a demographic mentioned with it, and this also included fanzines. I just put it in this other percentage because I really didn't know where else to put it. So that was my breakdown of the demographics that I read this year. It was really cool and really exciting to see this. I hope that you have enjoyed seeing these statistics because I just get really excited seeing things like this, and very curious how this upcoming year will be for my reading. I'm going to, I guess, low-key predict that shoujo is just going to increase, that josei is just going to increase. I think shonen and seinen will decrease because I only know of 1 seinen manga this year, and that is Bless, that I plan to pick up. And then for manhwa, I feel like maybe there's a strong chance that manhwa could even be higher than josei manga. For other, I think it's just going to be a random number, so I don't have any predictions for that. But that's my predictions, and this was my breakdown of my reading for 2023. But let's go ahead, go into what my goals are for, I guess, my channel, I guess you would say, or we could do the reading goals. We'll just go with the channel goals and I'll come back to the reading goals because I feel like it'd be weird to go into my reading goals after saying that. But for my channel goals, I decided to sort of, as hard as it is, because I really enjoyed posting every day during the 25 days of shoujo manga. I had such a blast, and it was really hard, like being on break and I'm like, oh, I need to go post a video, and it's like, oh, no, I don't need to go post anything right now. But my daughter's gonna be starting kindergarten this upcoming school year, and I really debated if I wanted to increase the amount of videos that I am filming and editing for the first half of the year, and decided I'm going to take it easy because I really want to treasure and spend time with her these next few months, because I think it was last month that it hit me really hard. The reality, like, oh my gosh, like she's going to be going to school and I'm going to be home by myself. And I have not been home by myself as myself, like not just, I mean, I've been home obviously, but like as a mom. And I actually talked to my doctor about that it was, who is Laura? That's not Laura just as a housewife and a mom and stay-at-home mom. Like I don't know who Laura is outside of that. Like I know I have, you know, like YouTuber and reader and stuff, but it was really emotional. I'm not gonna lie, it was really emotional. So I decided for at least the first half of 2023 that I'm just gonna stick with 2 videos a week. I would love to do more, and I do have an idea that I'm sort of thinking on, and I wrote it on my goals list, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do it or not. But I thought about doing a new video series that's YouTube Shorts, and it's called Try It Tuesday. I do have a list of manga that I would like to read this year, and I have like series that I want to read, and then I have a pile of manga, which I'll show a picture in just a few minutes of what I want to read. And I was thinking of doing like Try It Tuesday, where I use like a circle of names, and then I feature that manga on that Tuesday saying, hey, this is what I want to try reading for X reason. Some of them I'm probably not going to have like an elaborate reason, because I'll talk more about it in a minute, but I was thinking of doing that, I should say, of starting that kind of video series, but I really don't know. I was really gung-ho about it yesterday when I wrote out this list, but then now I'm like, I don't know. So that's sort of to be determined if I'm going to do that. But again, I'm going to be sticking with 2 videos a week. I'll still be doing the top 5 Wednesday videos because I love doing those. And then I'll have a Friday video. With that said, I'm not going to have any new big video series. Back in November, I mentioned to the channel members and Patreon members that I had this idea for a video series, and I even like talked a whole bunch about it, I feel like, in that post that I did. But I'm really excited for it and I would love to do it, but I feel like I don't have the time to invest in that video series the way that I really want to. So I'm sort of putting that idea on the back burner, because I guess going to my next goal, my husband and I have talked very in depth about this. When my daughter goes back to school, we sort of asked like, well, what am I going to do? I definitely want to continue to do YouTube, and I actually want to film and post more videos. I really want to make YouTube a job, so to speak, because I absolutely love filming and editing. Like it is such a joy to be on this platform and connecting with you guys. And that was something I really very deeply wanted. So me and my husband talked very in depth about it. And as of right now, the plan is when my daughter goes to school and all 3 of my kiddos are in school, that I will be able to at least part-time do YouTubing, which will mean that my goal is to increase the amount of videos that I'm filming and editing and posting more often. Right now, it's between 3 to 4 videos. I'm sort of thinking 3 like full videos like this, and then the 1 video of a YouTube short. I feel a little bit conflicted. I know I won't post on weekends, but if I did that, I really want to do, or at least continue, the shoujo manga news that I'm excited about, because I really enjoyed filming that. I hope that you guys enjoyed that as well. I don't know if I would make it purely shoujo, but it would be largely shoujo focused. Like if it was Hinata's birthday, I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and rope that in and say that's news that I'm really excited for that week. I would love to do that. So I don't know. I mean, my husband and I did talk about me going full-time with doing YouTubing, but I think it's just going to sort of depend. But I know that I want to do part-time, that I know that I want to continue to post videos and just post more the later half of 2023. Things could change, but right now that is the goal, that is the plan that I am working towards, and I'm very, very excited about that. When it comes though to doing more videos, one thing that I definitely wanted to do this year is, I know for my Patreon and channel members, I say in the, not about this channel, but like when you look at the tier or whatever, that I said that I would occasionally post videos of like life updates and just other things. I have sort of done that last year, but I was not personally happy with how little I post. I definitely did more written posts, I feel like, near the later end of the year, which isn't necessarily bad, but I'm like, I'd really rather just do a video form. So I'm making it a goal for myself to do 1 video a month. I thought about doing a little bit more, but I thought about it and I said, no, let's just do 1 video a month. If we can do something different the later half of 2023 because I was sort of brainstorming the idea of doing like mini reviews for Patreon channel members where they can recommend a manga series that's on K manga and that I can try that and then give like a mini review of what I thought, because last night I read like so much on K manga. It was a lot. It was a lot. So I'm really thankful for that service and that platform because I feel like it opens up being able to read a lot of digital manga since Kodansha has a lot of digital only series. But I'm not going to do that idea yet. Maybe the second half of 2024, but I'm not 100% sure. But as of right now, my goal is to at least do one video a month specifically for channel members and Patreon members. When it comes to events I'm really excited for next year, I'm also going to be hosting the Lara's Read and Review Shoujo Spree that I did back in May. We're going to be doing this again. I have at least 25 manga recommendations that are going to be up for voting. These recommendations came directly from the recommendations you guys gave in my giveaway, that happened last month in December. Very, very excited for that. And of course, I'll also be hosting once more this year the 25 Days of Shoujo Manga because I really, really love this event and you guys seem to enjoy it as well, which I'm very, very thankful for. So for our last part of my goals, I guess we'll talk about reading goals. The only big one that I have is to read Skip Beat this year. I finally have all of the series. I don't know, it's at the very, very bottom. But I finally have all of the series in my hands. I'm not putting a strict deadline on myself of when I should read it. I'm thinking the summer, maybe sooner, but I was like, we're going to enjoy this adventure. We're going to enjoy this ride. And I'm so excited to finally have it all in my hands because that was one of my goals last year, was to finish getting all of the volumes. I have all of them. Now it's time to read. I have read some of the volumes as they've come in and like no certain order at all, and I have enjoyed every single volume. Like I'll flip through it randomly and just like read like a scene here or there, and I've loved all of them. In the meantime though, I do have one other goal that I'm planning to pursue. There are so many good titles that are coming out next year, and there are a bunch that I want a lot. There's a lot of them. And so I was thinking about, well, man, my husband and I have talked, we have set a budget for myself, and I'm like, well, I really want more than what my budget allows. And so I was like, well, if I read the manga, all the manga that I have, maybe my husband would be more like, okay, you can get some more manga because you don't have anything else left to read. This is my line of thinking. I don't know if this is going to work. So recently, after watching Toni at Toni, I think it's Toni Reads Manga, she talked about her stats. She's definitely an inspiration for this video, as well as some of her goals. And I was like, I'm going to go through my collection and see what is left on my shelf that I haven't read yet. I was super shocked. I think it's like 10 manga series that I have not read yet. And so I compiled those into a list, and then I pulled off all of the manga volumes that are from a series where like I started the series, but then I just didn't finish it for whatever reason, pulled those off, and I'm gonna leave a picture here. This is the only ones that weren't like on my shelf was In the Clear Moonlit Dust and then Tsubaki Cho Lonely Planet, because my Secret Santa got me volume 1 and then I got the other 4 volumes. So I put that on here, but these are the manga series like I started, but I just didn't finish and want to finish this year because I just do like some of these series have already wrapped up and I just never got around to reading the final volume. And then when it comes to manga series that I want to read, I have Library Wars, Love and War, Let Me Not, because me and a friend, we did a like book exchange and I got the series from her and then I sent her a bunch of other manga in exchange. Otomen is still on the list. A Sentence of a Bookworm, I did talk about that in a video of I hope that Santa brings me the final volume. Santa did not. And so I was like, well, we need to read the series and then go ahead and get it. Nikolai, Traveling Around the Demon's World. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Nutmeg, she recommended this manga to me. I bought it and then it's just sat on my shelf since then. Howl's Moving Castle, I bought the manga after I binge watched the movie in February 2 or 3 times and now it's just sat on my shelf and I'm like, I need to read it. Land of the Blindfolded, this was a recommendation. I think her name is Carmen. She recommended it to me last month during the 25 Days of Shoujo Manga. I read some of the beginning, absolutely loved it. My husband gifted me the rest of the volumes because I bought volumes 1 and 2. Very, very excited for this. And then the last one is The Girl Sanpaku Eyes, which I already said I will not start until for sure Dimpa releases the final volume. So my plan is that each month I'm going to put the series in a wheel of names and then I'm going to spin it and then just read the manga that it suggests because I feel like this is an achievable goal. And typically I wouldn't be like, well, I have to read all my manga to be a real manga reader or real manga collector. No, I definitely don't feel that's true for any person. I'm only doing this because I want to show my husband that I am reading the manga that I'm getting in the mail, that I'm not just letting it sit on here, that I'm reading it, I'm loving it, and I want to get more, but I have to read what I have. That doesn't stop me from getting the stuff within my budget already, but that is my mindset or the thinking that I'm having. Very, very excited, and that pretty much wraps up everything. I'm so sorry that this was so long-winded. I didn't intend for it to be, but I just wanted to share, here's my reading stats from 2023. Here are some goals I have for 2024. Very, very much looking forward to all of these things. Hope that these goals, that I fulfill them, that I meet them, because I definitely want to come back hopefully next year around this time and say, hey, I did meet these goals, because that would be really, really awesome. But I would love to hear from you, friends. How was your reading last year? Do you have any goals either for your channel, for yourself, for reading? Let me know down below. I would love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!